Hey guys, and welcome to another Monster Hunter Tips video. In this video, we will be covering things that will be useful to returning players as well as new players. We're going to be going over all the new moves for all the weapons that are used to dodge, counter, and defend against the monsters and keep your combos flowing. Remember to leave a like and subscribe for more Monster Hunter and other types of content. Coming off of our better evading video, let's start with changes made to the weapons or just moves for the weapons in general that benefit from dodging. The biggest ones that have been blessed from these changes are the bow and the dual blades. With the bow, one thing to know for those of you who are coming to this game from a previous Monster Hunter game is with the bow, you no longer have to bring and craft files. Now you have this little gauge here in the bottom of the screen that you can fill up by landing hits or by doing this incredible new dodge, which we'll talk about in a moment. I personally fully support this change because while I am in favor of things that enhance the immersion in a game, in this case the only thing it did was unnecessarily take up space in your inventory and take you out of the action anytime you ran out. This keeps you in the action and incentivizes you to keep getting better at using the bow. Talking about this new evasive move that was mentioned before, if you time it correctly, you can dodge through most anything, and like I said, it will fill up your vital gauge and also fill up your stamina meter a ton. Be wary though that it does take a second to perform, so quick successive attacks will not be super easy to dodge. So try to position yourself more on the outside of the attacks and make sure you dodge out of the way of any follow-up attacks if possible. With dual blades, to give a little context to this, there's something called Demon Mode, which makes your attacks faster and stronger but continuously takes up stamina. While landing circle attacks, if you're on PlayStation, you'll build up this meter, and by building up this meter, it will allow you to do certain Demon Mode attacks while not in Demon Mode. The evasive aspect they've added is this sick new perfect dodge maneuver that you can do while in Demon Mode. I mentioned the building of the demon meter before because if you build this meter up, then this fancy new dodge will be yours even while you're not in demon mode. This maneuver looks amazing and lets you damage the monster every time you do dodge after the first correct dodge, so I recommend you take full advantage of it. Aside from the changes to these weapons, there are also a couple different changes to other weapons that should be noted. For example, the hammer no longer goes into a more powerful charge state when you press circle on PS5. Instead, it has you use your rope launcher, or whatever you call it, to do a little rope pull dodge. This is the same as a regular dodge, so it has some iframes at the beginning and is great for getting some distance. Not to mention the fact that it allows you to keep your charge level, so don't forget that if you're using the hammer. The other one that isn't necessarily new, but as some of you may know, the longsword has a backstep move that allows you to dodge an attack and level up your spirit gauge one level if you can land the follow-up hit. What you may not know is that the third level, or red, spirit gauge has received multiple changes. For starters, now it continually drains and no spirit blade attacks take it down, although finishing a spirit blade combo will bring it back up again slightly. Now, your triangle attack on PS5 becomes a flurry of swings, enabling you to get in a lot of hits and combine it with some Spirit Blade attacks. You can also do 2 Spirit Blade round slashes. And finally, my main point is that your backstep becomes this awesome crisscross scissor blade attack that looks way too cool. Which you can do as many times as you want until your Spirit Gauge runs dry, by the way. Not only that, but you can do one more Tornado Laser Blade finisher after the Spirit Helm Splitter, which is just peak anime awesomeness. Seriously guys, I cannot sell the longsword enough. It's incredible. I will also mention that there is also what is a new skill, I'm pretty sure, called Adrenaline Rush, which gives you an attack boost temporarily after doing any kind of evasive maneuver, be it rolling through or even just away from an attack, or literally any of the new things we just mentioned from any of these weapons. So as long as you're not using the lance, heavy bowgun, or great sword, which all block more than they dodge, this is a must-have for pretty much any hunter. Having covered that, now let's talk about countering attacks. While Monster Hunter Rise dabbled in some counter moves only usable when you had enough buggy boys, Monster Hunter Wilds has counters baked into specific attacks for certain weapons that will knock a monster completely off balance or out of the air and leave it open for counterattacks. Like I said though, it is only for specific weapons and with specific moves. The weapons it works for are the greatsword, hammer, hunting horn, switch axe, and the insect glaive. For the greatsword, the move that has been previously referred to as the rising slash is now not only able to be charged like any other overhead strike, but when timed correctly can perform this counter we've been talking about and follow it up with a spinning overhead slash. For the hammer, it's the third hit in your basic triangle combo. To be more specific, the slam slam, then upswing. The upswing is what will do the offset. Note that you can hold triangle when you're about to do the upswing in order to briefly hold the upswing itself so as to time it correctly. I kind of hope also that they make like the charge, the second level charge of the hammer that does a lot of KO damage. I hope they make that into an offset because I feel like that would be a lot easier to do and it would work a lot better, honestly, but I digress. For the switch axe, while in axe mode, you can do a simple circle triangle uppercut attack. It takes a second to wind up, and this is a note to those coming from World since it takes longer to wind up than it did in that game. So you'll have to get the timing down in order to pull this off well and consistently. For the hunting horn, it's a little more complicated. For those of you who are not aware, the hunting horn is basically a bigger hammer that plays magical tunes while doing attacks that give you buffs to you and your entire team. Each hunting horn comes with its own set of melodies. It's definitely one of the most unique and complicated weapons, but once you get the hang of it, it's a lot of fun. Getting back to the offset though, in order to do one, the hunting horn you're using needs to have the offset medley included in the list on the top right, just to the right of the regular list. It will also be included before you craft a weapon or forge a weapon, sorry, right here in this list of melodies. Once you do, you just have to play the combination of notes to put it in your queue and then press the button combo seen here in your queue. And just remember that it hits right after the beginning of the animation. Note that you can hold these buttons in order to time your offset, so he'll hold there for a second while you hold the buttons. And finally, for the insect glaive, there's a new attack called the descending strike, which can be done by holding circle. While on the ground, the first hit in the move will do the offset, but while in the air, it will do the offset for anything it touches until you hit the ground. One thing that may throw people off from World or Rise like me is that the attack buttons have been flipped. So now triangle will make you do the spinning attack that launches you back into the air when you successfully land on a monster. And circle is now the one that takes you directly down to the ground with a cool looking attack. This was the other way around before, and it definitely threw me off at first, so just be ready to get used to the change. One more thing that you should know though is that once you do an offset that knocks down a monster, the next time you do an offset, it will not knock the monster down or do the cool follow-up attack. It will only give you a small advantage in your combo, i.e., the Great Sword will give you a level 3 charge right off the bat. So be sure to do your next offset before a follow-up attack or you regret it. Moving on, when talking about defense, the one big thing to mention is the addition of the clash. A clash is performed by doing enough perfect blocks to cause this sort of struggle, in which you have to mash triangle on PlayStation to overcome the monster and knock it to the ground. Doing a perfect block has its benefits in general, aside from looking and sounding awesome and offering certain retaliation moves following doing a successful one. And while the clash doesn't happen all the time, it is useful for giving you a chance to do some damage, and it looks pretty cool. This works only for weapons that can block, obviously. So the sword and shield, great sword, charge blade, lance, gun lance, and heavy bowgun are some of these things that can do that. It should be noted that not all monsters will be able to initiate a clash. It seems like flying wyverns like Rathalos, Raydaus, Yankakus, and others are the sorts that cannot be clashed with, while monsters like the Arkville, the Dashiguma, and the Ajarakan are some that can be clashed with. One other thing in terms of weapons slash defense that I did want to mention is that for those lance users out there, today is your day to rejoice, because while the lance may not have received a great amount of changes compared to the other weapons from World to this game, you are given much better damage boosts for doing perfect guards, and there are some really cool new moves and combos to do in general. As I said earlier, while talking about dodging, that adrenaline rush would be good for those weapons. With these weapons, the skills Guardian and Offensive Guard are the best with these ones. One thing that has also changed between games is that weapons now have skills, and skills in general have been split between weapons and armor skills. So stuff like divine protection, evasion window, and defense will only be on armor, while skills like expert, attack, and charging will only be on weapons. All weapons except for archer weapons now come with skills attached, and pretty good ones sometimes too. My point with all this is just to say that before you fill up your slots with guard or offensive guard skills, make sure your weapon doesn't already come with that skill fully loaded. It's a mistake I've made myself. Another thing I should briefly mention are the changes in movement. In World, most weapons that have some kind of advancing slash or built-in dodge would be able to do attacks off of very specific walls like these mushrooms or whatever. Well, in Wilds, you can do this with all of the weapons by simply evading into most walls, since you can run up most walls in general, and pressing triangle to jump off the wall and immediately do an attack or ready yourself up to do another attack. Make sure to take advantage of this when you can to get off some extra damage. With that, this will conclude our video. Thank you guys so much for watching and for all the support on my previous video as well. I'll continue to see what other videos I can make to help newer and returning players to know about all these amazing new features and moves. Until then, please let me know if this video helped you and leave a like and subscribe for more Monster Hunter videos. Thank you guys, see you later. And other types of content.